Black community, the NAACP continues to prove its irrelevancy. The NAACP never really doesn't really care about black people. Again, y'all know I say this all the time. If they did, they'll be at the abortion clinics stopping black babies from being aborted. You know, they would be in these areas like Chicago protesting there and trying to stop the black on black violence. They're not doing any of that. Instead, they're pushing their LGBTQ agenda, which again has nothing to do with black people. They're pro immigration, and again, which hurts black people. Like they are like the antithesis to the black community, and the black people in the community know this. That's why they don't really. Not too many people support the NAACP except for these limousine liberals. That helps fund this organization, and we know who actually started the NAACP, and we'll talk a little bit about that. But before we get started, go ahead and hit that like button, share this out so we can get this information out there. Subscribe if you're not already a subscriber, and hit that alarm bell so you know when I'm putting out new stuff. Also, check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for news as well. All right, let's talk about this news. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, NAACP, specifically, and the media appointed radical black liberal leaders in general are the embodiment of this adage that weak people taking strong positions on weak issues, and that's exactly what's happening. Um, their original mission was to secure civil rights and equality for black folks, but under their current radical liberal leadership, the mission, quote, is to ensure the political, educational, social, and economic equality of rights of all persons and to eliminate race-based discrimination. How in the hell did they go from representing black people to all people? Hispanic, Asian, and Indian groups don't include all people in their mission statement. They are specific to their group. But of course, we know they don't really care about advancing black people. That's not what this organization is for. It's to fight off. It's to fight against conservative viewpoints. It's to fight against the family. That's why they never talk about not having the man in the home. They never talk about the family or any of that stuff. Just look at BLM and what they've represented. But if they want to eliminate race-based discrimination, then how do they justify their supporting of affirmation actions as it is practiced today? Um, these media-appointed radical black leaders are totally incompetent and out of sync with the black community. I guarantee you go to the barbershops and stuff like that, they will blast. They the ones, the real black community are the ones that's coming out and blasting the NAACP. But working at the highest levels of power in Washington D.C., um, black leaders selling out the very blacks they claim to represent on a daily basis. The last I checked, Dr. King did not take a bullet to his head for the radical homosexual agenda, diversity, equity, and inclusion, or amnesty for illegals. As a matter of fact, King would be embarrassed by what he sees in the black community. It got me thinking about the episode of Boondock Saints where they had an episode where Dr. King was never really died. He was in a coma the whole time, and he comes out of the coma and sees what's going on today in the black community. He's disgusted, and by the end of it, he was like, "Forget it, I'm moving to Canada," which is pretty funny. But Canada is even worse than it is here in the States. Um, of all the issues though facing the black community, the NAACP's focus is to send out a press release telling blacks not to visit Florida, even though their chairman Leon Russell lives in Tampa, Florida. Uh, I mean, hypocrisy abounds the liberal left, and they don't. The thing, it's like they're blind to. I don't know if they just blind to the hypocrisy or totally ignore it, but I don't get it. But I can't find any such press release telling blacks not to travel to Chicago, D.C., St. Louis, New York City, or Baltimore, or even Mexico for that matter. We know what's going on out in Mexico, where you have a high probability of being murdered or assaulted by another black. All these cities are controlled by black politicians. As a matter of fact, the NAACP national headquarters is based in Baltimore, where every quality of life index is in the negative for blacks. Crime, education, drug abuse, unemployment, abortion, out of wedlock pregnancies, like everything. According to their press release regarding the travel ban to Florida, quote, today the NAACP Board of Directors issued a formal travel advisory for the state of Florida. The travel advisory comes in direct response to Governor Ron DeSantis' aggressive attempts to erase black history to restrict diversity, equity, and inclusion programs in Florida schools. Florida is openly hostile towards African American people of color and the LGBTQ plus individuals. Before traveling to Florida, please understand that the state of Florida devalues and marginalizes the contributions of and the challenges faced by African Americans and other communities of color. This is ridiculous. It's so ridiculous. Y'all know I did a whole thing on. I always talk about the 1619 Project and how that's not real history, and those are the type of things. The critical race theory and stuff is what they're trying to stop teaching in schools. They're not. They can't stop teaching Black history because it's a law in almost every state that it has to be taught, especially Florida. So I mean, nothing could be further from the truth. Um, it's just crazy that they would make this stuff up. So exactly how is DeSantis hostile towards blacks? DEI and homosexuality are part of the white radical liberal elite black agenda, but is not part of the rank and file black agenda. So who are the quote people of color they reference in their press release? I have no idea what they're talking about, and what does the alphabet people have to do with the black community? That is not our issue. That is the issue of radical liberal whites who have found these media appointed black leaders to be the face of their issue in exchange of underwriting all their conferences. That's how they make money. But there's a total disconnect between the media appointed black leaders like Derek Johnson from the NAACP, Mark Morrow from the National Urban League, and Al Sharpton, not the rat Al. He said, I may be fat, but I'm not a rat. Al Sharpton from the National Action Network and Congressional Black Caucus, etc., and the rank and file in the black community. These radical liberal blacks have absolutely no relationship with the rank and file within the black community. They represent the white radical elite liberals agenda like promoting abortion, homosexuality, and amnesty for illegals. I mean, that's the NAACP total platform right there. In exchange for being the face of the radical liberal elite, whites and their perverted agenda, they get funding for their organizations and have no positive impact on the black community. So if you look at these groups, if groups is 990 report submitted to the IRS, you rarely see successful blacks making financial contributions to them. Like I said, they don't even come up in conversations in barbershops and stuff like that. The DeSantis said queer studies is not part of black history, and I agree with that. The governor's position is absolutely correct. Queer, homosexual, and transsexual indoctrination of kids or people have no place in the black community. It's none. It has nothing to do with black people. But blacks should be very offended that a white Republican governor must promote the agenda that most blacks agree with, while the blacks who claim to be from us, for us, and sold out our agenda to their radical elite white leftist masses. In Florida, it's so bad for black folks. Why do they comprise of 16% of the state's total population, representing over 3 million people? Implicit in the NAACP's narrative is that blacks are too dumb to relocate if they deem themselves and their families to be at risk in Florida. So if Florida is so dangerous to the black community, why is the state listed as the number one place in the country for black business creation? The Hispanic community is ranked number 2. These media appointed black leaders have strayed so far from where their focus should be, asking black people to be and do better. They rather push this idiotic agenda that again will not profit the black community whatsoever. But let me know what you think. Leave your comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe. And check out jjthepsychotherapist.com for the latest in news. Until next time, peace.